Tonight I want to talk to you about a riff.
Excellent!
Not that kind of riff, this kind of riff.
Russ Vought just tweeted the following one-line sentence. He said the rifts have begun. It's, of course, an acronym that means reduction in force or terminations.
That's Russell Vought talking about firing over 4,000 federal employees. A reduction in force, basically a purge, a further purge of the federal workforce. Now, it's important to keep in mind that though they are trying to tie this firing, this mass firing to the government shutdown, it has nothing to do with the shutdown, except to the degree that the administration wants to use the shutdown as some kind of a false excuse, some kind of a pretext to continue doing what they've been doing since they took office, which is the mass firings of people. And I say that because prior to the shutdown, Russell Vought and President Trump fired over 50,000 federal employees and pushed out a total of over 200,000 federal employees. So this is just a continuation of what they've been doing, a continuation of the pain they've been causing, a continuation of the effort to essentially purge the workforce of employees that they don't like or deem insufficiently loyal, part of Project 2025, to convert the federal workforce into some kind of a Trump campaign workforce. This is part of their modus operandi. Now, is this legal? The answer is no, it is not legal. It is no more legal to fire people during a shutdown than it is to fire people without cause any other time of the year. So this is illegal. And in fact, as these firings have been challenged over the last 9 months, the Trump administration has continually been losing in the lower courts. But here's the thing. What happens when these cases get to the Supreme Court? Well, up till now, they've only gotten to the Supreme Court in a limited form. That is, a lower court will say, Trump administration, that firing, those firings are illegal, and they will put a hold on the illegal firings during the course of the appeals. But the Supreme Court, in what's called a shadow docket, has taken up, for the very limited purpose of adjudicating whether the hold on those firings should remain in place during the pendency of the litigation, have accepted those cases as part of that shadowy docket, and the Supreme Court has often allowed the firings to go forward, which is, of course, cold comfort to people that their firings can go into effect until the Supreme Court ultimately hears the case. Because what happens when the Supreme Court ultimately hears it, let's say a year after people are fired? Well, people have had to move on. They've had to provide for their families. And the fact that the Supreme Court a year later might decide, no, that was illegal from the get-go, doesn't really help people who have had to move on and deal with that incredible disruption to their lives. But it is yet another way that this Supreme Court has shown how much it is in the tank for Donald Trump and his cruel policies. Because whether it's firings or whether it's these indiscriminate immigration raids or other lawless acts, the Supreme Court pretty consistently has allowed the harms to continue during the course of litigation. But what are the other impacts of these mass firings on you, for example? Well, let's say that you're a federal employee. Obviously, that's going to impact you the most directly. I take a personal, particular interest in this because California has more federal employees than any other state in the union. Now, in states like Virginia or Maryland or in the District of Columbia, of course, the impacts are disproportionate as a percentage of the population, but no state is more impacted in sheer numbers than California. But here's how you're impacted even if you're not a federal employee. And that is with the firings of employees at the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. It means the public health is less protected against deadly viruses. With firings at the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, it means that there could be more unsafe food or medicines on the shelves at our grocery stores. With more firings at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, it means more consumers being ripped off by large companies. Well, the Trump administration may not care about all that, but I care. It deeply impacts my constituents. It deeply impacts millions of people all over the country. And what's more, the president is using this government shutdown as an excuse to try to attack Democratic states and Democratic constituencies and Democratic programs. Here's Donald Trump talking openly about how he's going to target what he calls Democrat programs.
And we'll be making cuts that will be permanent. And we're only going to cut Democrat programs. I hate to tell you. I guess that makes sense. But we're only cutting Democrat programs.
So Donald Trump has never viewed himself as the president of the whole country. He's only viewed himself as president of half the country, the half that voted for him. The rest, his attitude is, I could care less. And we've seen that reflected well before the shutdown. We saw it reflected, for example, when the Trump administration zeroed out flood control projects in blue states and transferred the money to flood control projects in red states. We see it in the Trump administration's canceling of renewable energy projects in blue states. We see it in the president canceling infrastructure projects in blue states. Time after time after time, including during the shutdown, we see the president using the powers of the federal government as well as the public fisc as a way to reward friends and to punish enemies. Now, if this may just seem like politics as usual, it isn't. No previous president operated this way. And yes, prior presidents may have favored a grant here or a grant there, but generally they have refrained from such overt partisanship in the awarding of federal monies or programs or grants. Indeed, in the Inflation Reduction Act, in the infrastructure bill, President Biden made an effort to make sure some of the biggest projects were taking place in the red states. Not so under Donald Trump. As with so many other things, it is purely the politics of his personal revenge. And that's hurting a lot of Americans. But most particularly, it is hurting these thousands of additional federal workers who are being fired right now. Rather than come to the table, rather than negotiate an end to the shutdown, rather than ensure that our health care premiums are not going to double, Donald Trump is just trying to intensify the pain and the harm with these firings. And so he's leaving a great many Americans feeling just like this.
This will be your last week of employment at this company.
Why me?
What am I supposed to do now?
Am I supposed to feel better that I'm not the only one losing my job?
This is ridiculous. I have been a fine employee for over 10 years, and this is the way you treat me.
How you sleep at night, man? Huh? How's your family? They sleeping well at night? Electricity still on? Heat still on? Refrigerator full of food? Gas tank full of gas? Going Chuck E. Cheese this weekend or something? Not me. No, my kids, we're not gonna do anything.
This is what I get in return for 30 years of service for my company, and they send some yo-yo like you in here to try to tell me that I'm out of a job. They should be telling you you're out of a job.
You have a lot of gall coming in here and firing your #1 producer, and then you're gonna go home tomorrow and make more money than you've ever made in your life, and I'm gonna go home without a paycheck. Fuck you.
I guess you'd leave me dumbfounded. I don't know where this is coming from. How am I supposed to go back as a man and explain this to my wife that I lost my job?
I can't afford to be unemployed. I have a house payment. I have children.
I don't know how you can live with yourself, but I'm sure that you'll find a way while the rest of us are suffering.
I'm done.
Wasn't expecting this. Not at all.
Just like that?
I'm disappointed that I've given so much of my life. This is not fair.
There are people that are going to be way more qualified than me now. I don't know what to do when I wake up in the morning tomorrow.
Who the fuck are you, man?
So thanks for watching tonight's video. We started doing these nightly videos as a way of identifying something really important that happened today or this week, what we should make of it, and how we can fight back. As you can see, I like to include movie clips. If you have any suggestions for other movie clips I should include in future videos, please share them with us. And thank you for following along.